What's up, guys? It is time to do a video that we've talked about doing and a lot of you guys have been asking us to do. This is the 2022 Stella versus Exist Challenge. Pretty rare that in the same year both Shimano and Daiwa would release revamps of their flagship reel. Well, here we are. It's 2022, brand new Stella, brand new Exist. How do these $800 spinning reels compare to one another? We're going to break it down right now. Here we go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of Megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of OSP, Evergreen, Depths, Lucky Craft, Jackal, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of Megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of Megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com. Welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with Hookup Tackle, Tackle Otaku on Instagram, being joined by my buddy Desert Bass. What's up, CJ?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Pay no attention to the stash. Bunch of cocksuckers that work around this place. It was supposed to be mustache day. We all agreed, didn't we, Ethan? Apparently the joke's on me. So congratulations, guys. You get me in a mustache. The one and only time you're ever going to see it. Just in time for an amazing spinning reel review. Stop looking at me like that,
dude.
CJ.
I love it. I love it.
I know
it's a good look
do.
for you.
I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Sparkles in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is what we're going to do, guys. We have had in our hands the 2022 Shimano Stella, as well as the 2022 Daiwa Exist. We've had them. We've put them through the paces. We've used them on different rods. We've used them on a lake. We've used them from shore. We've done several different things with them. We can finally give our real world experience and at the same time spec these two out. So it's pretty natural that in this category that these two are going to go head to head. So the question is, which one is better, right? Maybe you're in the market for a spinning reel and you need to know which one is better. Or maybe you're a Stella fan, you want to know, hey, is this Exist really, worth bailing Shimano, or vice versa, right? So today we are going to spec these out. CJ and I have created 7 different categories that we feel are important to talk about with spinning reels. So we're going to rank them. We're going to let each one win a category, and we'll see where we're at when we add up all the points. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with category 1. Category 1 is size options. Okay, so let's start with the Exist. The Exist is going to be offered in a 2,000, a 2,500, a 3,000, and a 4,000 size. Now, I think there's also a 5,000 size, and that's probably the case with this guy too. But we're not going to talk about that because we're a freshwater bass shop, right? So we're bass, we're some trout. Anything really beyond that, that's a whole other subject. I'm not going to be able to use it, so I'm not going to be able to talk about it. So for practical reasons, you've got 4 sizes. You've got a 2,000, 2,500, a 3,000, and 4,000. Same here. This guy's going to be in a 1,000, a 2,500, a 3,000, and a 4,000. Now, typically, a 1,000 and 2,000 size spinning reel are the same size body, just the 2,000 has a bigger spool. So the 2,000 typically just has more line capacity than a 1,000. So virtually the same reel. Now, here are some specs that are going to be important for you guys to know if you are coming in this category. So if you guys are used to Exist, specifically pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. So in the Shimano Stella, the 2,500 and the 3,000 size are both high speed. So the 2,500 is an HG, so it's a 5.8 to 1, approximately 34 inches of line per turn, okay? The 3,000 is an XG, so 6.4 to 1, approximately 37 inches of line per turn. So both high speed. Now this is important because I would venture to say that probably 95% of guys using a spinning reel are using it for some form of soft plastic or finesse fishing, right? Some kind of bottom contact fishing. Typically, when you have something on the bottom and you get bit, you want a higher gear ratio to wind down and pick up line and set the hook, right? I've never once met anybody that says, oh man, I wish I had a lower gear ratio for my bottom contact fishing. It just doesn't exist, right? So Shimano has clearly positioned Stella towards, finesse and bottom contact things like drop shot, free rig, Neko rig, Ned rig, all the things that we put on the bottom as freshwater anglers. Now, on the other hand, Daiwa has positioned the 2500 as a high speed, so it is an XH, right? So it is a 6.2 to 1, so again, about 34.5 inches of line per turn, so about the same as the Stella is. But the 3000 is only offered as a D, and the D is their deep spool low speed. So it's actually more of a mid speed, so it's a 5.2 to 1, which is 30 inches of line per turn versus 37 inches of line per turn on the Stella. Now, that might be great news to you guys if you wanted to buy a 3000 sized Exist for your jerkbait fishing. A lot of guys still throw a jerkbait on a spinning reel. That will be an amazing gear ratio for that. It'll be equivalent to about a high 6, low 7 in a bait casting reel, somewhere in there, right? But if you're looking to throw stuff on the bottom and you're looking for that high speed line pickup for bottom contact, you're not going to get it in Exist 3000, which is a shame because a lot of the rods that we love around here, like the Windbuster and 872 and these kind of things, they need a 3000. A 2500 is just not a big enough reel on some of those heavier rods. So for that reason, because the majority of our spinning stuff is done on the bottom, it's done with soft plastic, the check goes to Shimano just because of the dual high-speed option. So Shimano gets the first check. All right, let's jump over to bearings. Now, bearings are one of these things, just because something has a lot of bearings doesn't mean it's great, right? You could put a bunch of bearings in a pile of shit, and it's just a pile of shit with a bunch of bearings, right? So a lot of this comes down to where are the bearings at? How are they strategically placed? Are they in important places, right? So just to spec it out really quick, the Exist is going to come with 13 total bearings, so 10 CRBBs, 2 mag-sealed bearings, and the mag-seal are going to support the inner gears in there, and then 1 roller bearing. The Stella is going to come with 12 CRBBs and 1 roller bearing. So pretty much the same bearing count. The only difference here is that Daiwa is going to have a couple of MagSeal bearings. MagSeal is pretty dope. If you guys aren't familiar with MagSeal, it is a magnetic oil. So the Exist will have those 2 bearings. It also has this entire top piece here where water potentially could penetrate into the unit that is fully MagSealed as well. So the idea is to keep it completely sealed and out of the element. Is it enough to give a check? I don't know. I think they're really about the same. As far as smoothness goes, they're both beautifully smooth reels. So I say the check goes to both because it's an amazing bearing count and they're in the right places. They're both butter smooth, so both get a check on that one. All right, let's jump to weight. Now, we are in 2022, right? I talked about it a little bit during my Stella review initially, my first impressions review. I've talked about it a little bit in my Exist review. Rods are getting lighter and crisper and more sensitive and sharper, right? So it makes sense that reels would do the same thing. Now, Shimano has taken the Stella and they have added a lot of tech that is designed to strengthen this reel and give this reel a lot of durability. It's also added some weight or kept the weight the same. It's prevented them from reducing the weight in this reel the way it would have been cool to see it reduced, right? So, on the other hand, Daiwa has focused on weight and they have redesigned and re-engineered a lot of their pieces to reduce the weight so that it's an even lighter reel than before. Okay, so let's spec it out. So in the Stella, the 2500 is 7.4 ounces. The 3000 is also 7.4 ounces. So the same weight for a 2500 or a 3000, right? Now in Exist, the 2500 is 5.6 ounces. So almost 2 complete ounces lighter, right? So here, feel those two. I mean, it's night and day.
2 ounces. That's insane.
Yeah, night and day difference, right?
Oh, you can feel it right away.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
a huge difference here. Now, the 3000 in the Exist is 6.2 ounces. So it's still an ounce, 1.2 ounces lighter than the 3000 in the Stella. Now, keep in mind, it's a 3000D, so it's a deep spool. You're going to add extra line that you probably don't need, right? So just to give you an idea, the 3000 XG spool, this spool here, is rated for 200 yards of 10 pound, right? And the 3000 Exist is rated for 280 yards of 10 pound, right? So it's almost a third more line. So it's going to make up some of that 1.2 ounces in the line. But at the end of the day, the Exist is definitely lighter, and you can really feel it when you put it on rods. We've been testing these on a bunch of different rods. We just came back, doing a review on some NRX models, 872, 852 JWR, 822 DSR. You put these two rods on these rods that really don't weigh anything, and you notice instantly how light that Exist is. So, for weight, no question, the check mark goes to Daiwa Exist on this one. All right, let's talk about drag for a minute, okay? So, by spec, Shimano, both the 2500 and the 3000 have 20 pounds of drag, all right? By spec, the Exist 2500 has 11 pounds of drag, and the 3000 has 22 pounds of drag, okay? Now, what the fuck does that mean, CJ?
I have no idea. That's
Right.
all over the place.
Most people have no clue what 20 pounds of drag even means, right? Especially in the bass fishing world, because we're not hauling things out. Now, if you guys are fishing coastal, if you guys are fishing redfish, snook, things that are really going to be powerful that you need to winch some stuff down and really haul fish out with a spinning reel, those numbers might mean something to you. From a bass fishing standpoint or a trout fishing standpoint, what we want to know is how smooth is that damn drag, right? Is the line going to come out? Is it going to be smooth? Are we going to break fish off when they're close to the boat? So on and so forth, right? So I have to kind of break it down to real world experience. And here's what I can tell you. With the Exist, might be better to spool one
Yeah, all my spinning reels are like 40 pounds or more.
of drag.
Yeah. If it's anything less than 30, I'm not using it.
I see.
It's hard to throw a K9 on a spinning reel that only has 20 pounds of
Well,
drag.
that makes sense. Yeah, total sense.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I can tell you on the drag, guys. And it's no secret that I am a fan of the Exist. I've used the Exist since the Exist has been a thing. I love the Exist. Trust me, I want to love every reel that comes through this store. So I am giving all of these reels a fair shake. Here's what I can tell you. When you spool this up and you run the line through and you're going to set your drag, right? For me with the Exist, when I set the hook on a fish, right? If I make a long cast, it sinks down and I get that bite. When I wind down and set the hook, I want that drag to give just a little bit on my hook set, right? It's kind of like a little buffer cushion for me. Then I know that I've got a strong hook set. I know that hook's gone through. I should just get a little bit of drag slip, right? So for me, it's really easy to set my drag. If I pull here, it should pull with the same strength out there 100 feet away. Does that make sense? So if this is set real tight, it should be really tight out there. If this is set, really loose, right? It should be really loose out there. If this is set right at that kind of sweet spot speed where it takes just a little bit of muscle to pull out, but it's still kind of tight, it should act exactly the same way out there, right? And the Exist performs perfectly like that. Just like the old Exist, beautiful, butter smooth drag. As you're fighting fish, if you have this set right, you can just basically hold it and you will hear just little small little movements on this reel, right? So sometimes when you get just enough tension, you'll hear it just go, you know, 1 or 2 little clicks over just to relieve the tension so that you never really have to think about it, right? It's set perfectly. And it's easy to figure out the tension because literally whatever you have here mentally is exactly the same as what it's going to have, okay? Now, on the flip side, this reel does not operate like that, okay? This reel is a confusing fucking reel for your head. Now, once you get used to it, it might be a completely different story, but I don't have a tendency to change my drag settings that often, right? I mean, pretty much once I set a drag, it pretty much lives there, but if I need to loosen it for fighting a fish, or maybe I've taken the spool off and I've re-spooled it and put it back on, I need to kind of reset it, I should be able to pull here, and the tension that comes off this reel here should be the same tension that comes off the reel on a cast, but that's not the case with this reel, okay? The tension that comes off here is much lighter than the tension that comes out when your line is out there, and you guys will experience this if you purchase one of these. Okay, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just how the reel is positioned, but when you set the hook or you fight a fish that's far away, it's much tighter than you think it is here. And you'll literally go, what the fuck, why isn't it coming off? It's super loose, and it's not coming off. It's the craziest thing. And I listened to Griff struggling with this. We're talking about your favorite subject right now, Stella drag.
Yeah, amazing.
So I was listening to Griff struggle with this. I'm like, man, why does he suck so bad, right? And then we traded, right? And you're like, oh, thank God I got this nice, beautiful, smooth Exist. And I'm like, and literally I lost my first fish. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is this thing? I'm like, did he set it weird? And I'm pulling it and it's super loose. So finally I was able to get the drag set correctly for a good fish to pull. And I'll tell you, when you're fighting fish on this drag, it's a beautiful drag. So once you have it set correctly, it's really fun to fight a fish in this drag. The drag works so smooth and you can almost feel it kind of surge and do what it's supposed to do. But it's so light that when you get the bait in close, like I was throwing a jerk bait, that in order to have this set correctly so a fish could take line, every time I'd twitch the jerk bait, it'd go bzz, bzz, and it would pull line. It's a real trippy thing. I'm not a fan of it. So for that reason, just for consistency and just for, you know, mental ease of setting drag, Exist gets this check. All right, guys, next category we're going to call line management. Now, both of these reels are touting new line management systems, right? So if you guys saw our Stella review, there are 2 things that Shimano is doing on line management. First off, it is an ultra slow oscillation of this spool up and down. You'll see how slow that spool goes down and how slow that spool goes up. And the idea is that it will help parallel line or parallel wind that line on there, so it's laying literally right next to each other parallel, so as it comes off the spool, in theory it should be much smoother. Now, on the flip side, the Daiwa Exist is pretty fast. There's none of that slowness. But when you look at the line, it's pretty parallel. I mean, it might not be exactly right, but not once did it ever catch in the drag to where I was like, man, if only it was parallel, right? Never once crossed my mind. So I don't know that it necessarily does anything performance-wise on here, so no edge there. The other thing that Shimano did is they put in on this reel an anti-twist fin. I don't know, can you see that, CJ? There's this little polymer piece right here, this little black piece right here.
Barely. Hold it a little closer if you can.
Yep. So there's this little black piece right inside there. Can you see it? It's this thing right
I'm going to guide you here.
Here, yep.
You can rotate it just a hair. See that, guys, right there?
So
you got the gist.
What that is, it's basically like a hard plastic piece that's designed to kind of force the line into that roller so that you will reduce knots, reduce twisting, and hopefully reduce some of those goofy loops that every once in a while you get when you're not paying attention. And from what I can tell, it works good to me. You didn't like it.
No.
So what did you experience?
I I've never had as much problem as my reel looping like that.
Yeah.
As in the one I used that reel.
So you had a lot of looping.
Yeah, and then when I would cast it, it would all come out at once.
Okay. So you found that it didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I found that it worked. I didn't have any looping problems. You did have looping problems.
A lot of it.
Okay. So maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, right? With Daiwa, what they've done is, no fin. What they've done is they've redesigned the bail system so every bail is slightly different for each size, and they're all at a slight angle designed to push the line to the roller in there. Okay? So, and again, I never had any problems with this one either. So it seemed to do its job. Did you have any issues at all with the Exist?
I didn't.
Okay. So I don't really see a clear winner here. So Griff thinks this is the winner over this system.
I think so.
Okay. I didn't see a clear enough winner here.
But
yes.
I only spent like 40 minutes with the Exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in fairness, I think they both get a check. They both seem to be good systems. I didn't have a single problem with either. So there you go. They both get a check on that one. All right, and then the next category we're going to just call strength, right? So again, as these reels get super light, one thing, and especially, dude, we're talking about, this is a lot of money for a spinning reel, right? So, we want this thing to be butter smooth. Obviously, we talked about the bearings earlier, but we want it to be rigid, right? We don't want it to have a lot of flex. We want it to be a solid unit so that drag always performs. We want it to just stay butter smooth in our hands, right? So the strength and how they build these reels is going to play in that, because when you come into the store and they're brand new in the case, they all feel great, right? But we want to know 6 months down the road, how is this thing going to feel? And the way they build it and the strength is going to be important here, right? So Shimano is touting their new Infinity drive system, and there's a lot that goes into that, but essentially the gearing now is much bigger and runs the entire length of the reel, so that you just get this stronger, smoother experience all the way around. I can tell you, it's butter smooth, right? I mean, it's one of the smoothest reels that I've ever had. I can also tell you, it's a little noisy. Did you notice the sound?
Yeah, there's
like a hum.
Yeah, like a humming, whistling.
Yeah. And I can't tell where it's coming from other than just this kind of bail creating this little humming sound. I don't know what it is. It's slightly annoying. It's happened on both of my reels. So, you guys may or may not pick up on it. I don't think it has any performance effect on it because it's still just butter smooth, super strong. So a great system here on the Stella. Now, on the Daiwa, they have basically an air drive shaft. So again, it's an extended shaft that's connecting all of these bigger gears in here. They've got the bigger gear for the monocoque frame, right? So there's a bigger drive gear in there. This is also part of their quote-unquote digi gear system. So the gears are reinforced with bearings, going back to those mag seal bearings that we talked about before, right? So everything is super reinforced in here. Again, butter smooth, seemed like, plenty, strength, the rigidity was there. So for me, I don't see any clear winner here. Maybe a year down the road, after we've abused these, maybe this will be a different story. But initial impressions after using both and after speccing in both, they both get the check. They're both incredible systems. All right, and then finally, our last category, CJ, is price. Okay, now, these are both on the high-end bougie scale here, right? And here's the thing. When you jump to this, one of the questions we get asked all the time, and there's a big jump in Daiwa from Certate to Exist, right? And there's a big jump in Shimano from Exist to Stella. And one of the questions is, man, is it really worth it? Because you could almost get two of the other one for one of these, right? These are small little refinements as you move up in reels, but once you're used to the refinements, there's no going backwards, right? Once you've experienced this, you can't go back because it's not the same experience, right? So is it worth it? 100% worth it. If you are throwing, spinning, it is 100% worth it. You can trust me on this. I wouldn't say this about every reel out there. I think there's a lot of techniques where it doesn't really make a difference if you're using a Steez or a Tatula or a Corrado or a Metanium, right? It's just chuck and wind, right? This is one of those that I think it's absolutely worth it. But let's break down this price, okay? Stella, $749. Okay, so expensive. Now $749 for the 2500 and the 3000 size. As you go up in size, I think they jump to like $799, but $749 for all intensive purposes, right? Exist, $859. Right? So $110 more. Right? Now, when you're at this level of reel, is it really that big of a deal? I mean, are you going to not spend $850 if you're going to already spend $750? Probably not, but that's still a big price difference. I mean, that's like 12.5% or something crazy. I'm not great at numbers off the top of my head. Where's Ethan when we need him?
Let's say you should have Ethan do the
right.
math.
Oh, his head would just explode. Yeah. So it's a pretty big price difference here between these two. I don't think it's enough in the real world to make any difference. I don't think somebody's going to want this and be like, well, I could save $100 if I get the Stella, so I'll just get the Stella, right? This isn't kind of that purchase where you just settle for something, but because it is a noticeable difference, we're talking about $110, the check has to go to Shimano on this, so the Stella gets the check for price. All right, guys, so that's a wrap. I don't know if that will help you guys in your decision making or not. We added up the checks, and it's basically a 5-5 tie. So what it's going to come down to, just like always, is personal preference and what's important to you, right? So use this, take, our experience that we put in here outside of the specs, use it, maybe try it for yourself, see what you think. Some things are going to be more important to you than others. The biggest thing for me is going to come down to if gear ratio is a critical factor for you and you need a 3,000 or 4,000 size reel, then this is your option, right? If weight and just ease of use and butter smooth drag is the most important thing to you, that is going to be your option. So personal preference to me, I've just used this reel for so long, I'm staying here, I just can't get away from it. When I go back and forth, this just feels like home to me, right? But I bet you a lot of you still guys would say the same thing about this. They're both beautiful reels. It's just a learning curve going back and forth. So there you go. I hope that was informational. I hope that was helpful, maybe to some extent. Again, depending on what's important to you. Great job, both of you guys. But for me, a home run here on the Exist. We're going to keep them both lined up. We're going to keep them both on our rods. We're going to test them out. We'll just give it a full year, and maybe we'll do another review, CJ, a year in, and see our thoughts a year in. So happy shopping, guys. If you guys have any questions, drop it down below, and we'll definitely get to it. And CJ will leave links to both these reels so you guys can check them out. As far as availability goes, you're going to start seeing these things just filtering in, right? So shops like me, we have tons on order, but Shimano and Daiwa aren't receiving their full orders, so things are getting allocated. So we'll get 3 here or 5 there or 2 here or whatever. So keep your eyes peeled. You guys are welcome to pre-order them too if you want to do that. But again, holler if you guys have any questions. Thank you for the time, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. Peace out.